afternoon, everyone. Trustetta Alexander here, business productivity coach and strategic consultant to entrepreneurs, small businesses, nonprofits, ministries, all the things, right? I am back here today for the UPHS presenter interview series. And today I am sitting down with Dr. Joy Phillips from the Florida State University. Joy, welcome to this interview today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I'm excited to get an opportunity to talk with a fellow Knoll. So why don't we begin with you kind of sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am Dr. Joy Phillips. I have the pleasure of serving as the interim director for the Center for Leadership and Social Change at Florida State University. And so our office manages sort of two office areas. One is leadership and service, and the other is student inclusion and diversity. I've been at Florida State for quite a while, doing community engagement work. And so the conversations around inclusion and equity and how we do that on campus and in the larger community is near and dear to my heart. So I'm excited to be having this conversation.
Awesome. And of course, because that is your role and that's where your expertise lies, you are presenting at the Conference for Excellence in Nonprofit Management and Leadership on the subject of creating an inclusive culture within your agency. Tell us a little bit about what attendees can expect to hear in your session and why this topic is so important, especially right now with everything that's going on.
Right. So with any presentation that I give around this topic, what I always hope is that we're able to co-create a space where we are all learning from each other and learning more about ourselves. So this intends to be a time and a space where we can really look at and explore our own identities and the ways in which we engage in privilege, the ways that we perpetuate systems that oppress the marginalized communities and how that shows up in our work, how that shows up in our day-to-day lives. And then how we make choices moving forward to leverage our privilege, to help create space and give voice to communities and to populations who typically are not listened to or are disregarded. And so my hope is that at the end of this, participants will have a better understanding of their identities and who they are and the way they show up and why that matters for communities that are looking for support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I alluded to it earlier, but this is a very hot topic right now after all of the deaths due to police brutality that have re-sparked or reignited that Black Lives Matter movement. So
Absolutely.
Besides the obvious, because it's, a very hot topic right now, why is this conversation important? Why, especially for human service agencies?
So part of why it's important is that there are ways every day that we each engage in perpetuating racist systems. And oftentimes in these conversations, it is easy for us to talk about what other folks are doing, right? What they're doing, what they are doing incorrect and what they should be doing better. But we never really take the time to really think about the ways that we engage in those systems and the ways that intentionally or not, we help to perpetuate those systems and move those systems along. And so it is important that we're able to recognize the way that we engage in those so that we can make different choices, right? So that we can choose to engage in systems differently. We can choose to engage with communities differently. We can choose to help amplify voices that are missing or that are not heard of so that we can help change systems to help move justice and equity for all communities forward. And unfortunately, we don't always get the space to do that deep self-work, to be able to sit and process that for ourselves. And so I'm hoping in this conversation that we have, that is the space that we create. It is giving ourselves permission to think deeply about our role in helping to perpetuate racist systems.
Right. It's, and honestly, that is the easiest way for us to create and impact change is by first changing ourselves. Because when we change ourselves and we behave differently, we engage people differently, then that causes them to respond in a way differently than what they would have had we come at them with our old belief system or from the place of our bias. So,
and I think sometimes, like we just don't realize it. And so there's a quote from Dr. Beverly Tatum that talks about racism as like the smog that's in the air, right? Like sometimes it's heavy and you see that it's there, and sometimes you don't, and you're just breathing it in. And the reality is that we are all breathing it in, right? As a Black woman, I breathe in that smog every day. And so there are ways that I have been conditioned to think about what is professional dress, what is professional behavior, how I should have my hair when I'm at work, the way that I speak, the way that I behave. Those are things that are ingrained in me that I just breathe in without questioning it. Without questioning that there are ways that is oppressive to communities, that is exclusionary. And we often don't think about that. And so my hope is that in this, we are able to consider some of those things in the ways that we unconsciously are helping to move along systems that are intentionally designed to keep communities oppressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I think a lot of the nation, at least, I can't speak for, beyond the coast of the US, but definitely within our nation, many people are asking themselves the question, what can I do? Right? What can I do? Like it seems like such a big issue that we tend to back off from it because it's overwhelming. It's like, well, we think to ourselves that I can't do anything to impact change, so I'm just not going to do anything. And I think that's what we've done for decades and decades. That it's just been too big that we get overwhelmed. We're like, okay, I can't. But now I think we're finally in a place where we're like, all right, this is enough is enough, and we're now willing to have the serious conversations and take some sort of step in the right direction. And so I think it's really great that that in this leadership conference that we're having the conversation with the leaders of organizations, and because we all know that things flow from the head down. And so if you change the culture from the leadership perspective, then you can change the culture within the organization. And if you can change the culture within the organization, then you can change the culture within the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And oftentimes, right, like as folks that are in positional leadership, we will rely on, well, the HR policy says, or the rule book says, or this thing says, and rely on that versus trying to think about, well, what are ways that because I'm in a position of power, how can I influence change in that policy? How do I think about this policy different that allows greater voice and access for the folks that work in my office, for the communities that we serve? It hopefully will challenge us to think a little differently about the way that we engage in policies and choices that we make, and that we take responsibility for the choices and the things that we choose to uphold. And not always put it off on someone else, but that we are making a choice to uphold that policy, and how can we make choices to do things differently.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So if you were to, we're doing this interview series to encourage people who have not yet registered to attend the virtual conference to actually go ahead and pull the trigger and register. So what would you say to a nonprofit manager or executive director who may be on the fence? Why should they take part in a conference like this and conversations like this?
And so I will say the same thing that I say to our students all the time at Florida State is make the choice to invest in yourself, right? Like we invest in so many other things that benefit others, that benefit our families or other people. And so make the choice to invest in you, bet on you. And so this is a great opportunity for you to invest in yourself and your development.
I love it. Awesome. Joy, if anyone is watching or goes back and watches the replay of this interview and is interested in bringing you into their organization to hold a similar discussion or to an event that they're holding, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So the best way to reach out to me is they can definitely visit the website for our office, which is thecenter.fsu.edu, to take a look at all of the things that we offer and the programs that we host. My contact information is on that website. It is just jnphillips@fsu.edu. That's going to be the best way to get in touch with me right now in the world of COVID-19. I am on email all the time.
Yeah.
But what part of what I hope folks know, particularly about our work in our office, is that we are here to support the community the best way that we can. And so don't ever hesitate to call us, email us, to let us know how we can be of the best support to you and to what you have going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing what you'll be presenting and giving an opportunity for people to connect with you offline if they are interested in having these similar conversations. So for those of you who have not yet registered, first of all, what are you waiting for? But just to give you the details, the conference is being held virtually this year. We ended up having to push it to August in order to make the pivot due to COVID-19. And so we are holding it virtually. The conference will be held on August the 19th and 20th. You can learn more about UPHS as well as register for the conference by visiting uphs.org/UPHS-annual-conference. I did put the link in the description of this live stream so that you can just click it and head on over there and get more information about the conference. There are 3 different options. You can choose the 1-day option, the 2-day option, or my favorite is the all access pass, which will give you the ability to get access to all the recordings of the general sessions and the breakout sessions and have lifetime access to that. So even if you can't join us live the days of the conference, you can still go back and review the different sessions that you weren't able to attend, or maybe there was 2 sessions that were concurrent that you couldn't really decide between the 2. Why decide? Get them all by choosing that all access pass. Again, the link is in the description of this video, so you can just head on over there and get registered today. I encourage you to register not only yourself, but your team. And if you're not in the state of Florida, you can, because it's virtual, you can join us from wherever you are in the world. So Joy, I want to say thank you again for joining me today. It's truly been a pleasure getting to know you and hearing all about what you're going to be presenting at the conference.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope to see everybody soon.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and I'll be right back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. with Amy Bradbury. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.